It's Thursday, December 12th. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. The regime of Bashar al-Assad is no more. It's a new day in Syria. Today on the show, we are asking what comes next for the country and its people. And I've got some folks from the local Syrian community here to talk about it. As we jump into it, whenever I do a show like this, talking about big international stories that are developing, I like to look at the headlines just to see, like, to give a flavor of kind of what is out there, at least through an English Canadian type of a lens, my lens really, for what I'm looking through. But here's from CBC News today, right? Rebel leader says he will dissolve Assad regime forces as Syrians return to work. The article goes on to talk about banks are open, shops are back open in Syria, curfews finished. New York Times. In Aleppo, residents cheer and refugees return to a ravaged but jubilant city. Another New York Times headline, rights groups see a chance to seek justice for Syrian regime's victims. Another one from CBC, this one from Margaret Evans. Rebel victory in Syria exposes horror of Sednaya prisons. Families search for traces of the disappeared. From Ottawa, Syrian Canadians are reacting with hope and caution to the fall of the Assad government. Some are calling it a new beginning in the country. And from Al Jazeera, new era in Syria. Opposition fighters destroy Hafez al-Assad's tomb, vows security and stability. And for context, folks, Syria's civil war started in 2011 after an uprising against Assad's rule. You know, you had 5 foreign powers present in the country: United States, Russia, Iran, Turkey, Israel. Forces opposed to Assad, along with U.S.-backed fighters, controlled more than a third of the country. And then over the weekend, right, a whiplash rebel takeover. Assad fled the country last weekend and granted political asylum in Russia. So that's where we are-ish, right? I mean, there's lots more, obviously, that you can mention here, but that's just some context to jump into it. I've got a full studio here, and I'll introduce everyone. So we've got Hamza Shibat, Mona Khalil, Abir Zain, and Nawar Abdel Halim. Thank you all for coming in to the studio today.
Thank you for having us.
All right, I guess we'll... the question which has been on my mind, Mona, I've talked to you about this before, right? We've known each other for a while now. The last time I spoke with you, like the last time I interviewed you, there was something that stood out to me in our conversation, because I asked about Syria, and you mentioned to me, my Syria doesn't exist anymore because of everything that had happened, right? Your neighbors aren't your neighbors anymore, like all of the change with the Civil War. And then this weekend and all the celebration and the joy, looking ahead. What is your Syria? When you think of Syria, what is your Syria? And that can be from the past, that could be hopeful, or that can be a thought from right now.
Yeah. Actually, when I say that we don't have Syria anymore, I was hopeless, like everyone else.
Yeah.
We felt like we will never go back, and if we go back, it's destroyed, and people are not there, and many people died. We did not know how is that going to look when Assad is gone, but we did not have much hope that he's going to be gone. Last week, when this happened, we feel like Syria is back. It's just like, we have a very famous statement that says, like, a phoenix bird comes out of the ashes.
Right.
We feel like Syria is coming out of the ashes now, brand new, shining, strong, and with lots and lots of hope to rebuild, be rebuilt, I mean. So we are full of hope now. We are full of happiness and joy. We can't express that enough. And I would love to tell about every single detail about when we learned that this is happening, or when we were following up with the news, because that's something I'm telling myself all the time, closing my eyes and reminding myself, Syria is free. This happened this way. It started like this. I just tell myself the story all the time, just to feel it.
It's not a dream anymore.
Not a dream anymore. All right.
No.
So when did you? It happened so fast. I was reading in international news. It's like, okay, rebel forces are moving. I was like, okay, interesting, right? But the Civil War's been going on for a long time, and then all of a sudden, it just Assad is gone. It just for me, an outsider, it seemed to be lightning quick. When did you folks realize? When did you realize that this is a change?
Well, it's been actually a few months now when
the Syrian fighters were preparing to get into the other cities.
Yeah.
And to my understanding, they found documents, a lot of documents from, whistleblower from in the city where the Syrian fighters were living.
Yeah.
That they were telling the government of Syria, Assad regime, that the Syrian fighters are about to get ready and go to fight and get some more cities.
Yeah.
But probably he just ignored it because he never thought that they have the courage to do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were waiting for this moment because
Waiting.
it would have been impossible for Syrian people to live in two different states, where Assad's states is completely different than the Syrian fighter state. We call it Idlib. It's a Syrian province near Turkey.
Yeah.
And I knew it's coming. A lot of people knew
Waiting
actually it's
for it.
coming. Yeah.
What of the rest of you? Surprised? Were you waiting for this? Where were you on the range?
Well, we've been waiting for it, I think not even the last 13 years, but the past probably almost 50 years since his father was the president. And, we're talking about kind of what the last straw is in regards to this, but there really wasn't a last straw. I think the last straw was when we formed an opposition 13 years ago, and now it just happened, as you said, lightning quick, and he's gone, and it's a secure, safe home that we can go to whenever we wanted.
Did you have to pinch yourself when you heard it? It's like, oh, he's fled.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable moment. We never thought that this would come in such a short period of time since, he's been president for so long, and then his father was president for so long. And even a couple of months ago, we thought that this moment wouldn't come ever. And now, in really overnight, they overtook the capital and he fled. And I think a lot of us cannot believe it. Yeah.
It was too fast to believe.
It was too fast to believe, for sure.
Beer, what of yourself?
I was the same.
Yeah.
I was, as a student, was studying, and my husband said, "Do you hear the news? Do you see the news?" I didn't even bother myself to, discuss that with him because, in one point, inside mentally, I'm like, "No, that's not going to happen. It's like a few cities, and that's everything going to go back as it is," because as everyone was saying, this al-Assad regime was for 45 years, so we really was hopeless. Like it was like a dream, or we have been living a nightmare for all that long, to the point even when we saw that Syria is free, we couldn't believe it. Until the last day, I think it's Sunday, it was Saturday, my husband, he called his family. We have a lot of relatives there, and we call them to make sure that's true.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, to be honest, when you see that, the news you see on social media, it's not true all the time. So
imagine. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we called our relative, is that true? We didn't stop on one person. We called at least 5, 6 them.
Yeah.
And what's happening? Is that true? If now everything is good, everything Syria is free now. And they was, yeah, it's true. You have to believe it. We didn't sleep for 2 days. We didn't even eat. I have a lot of things. And my husband, you have to study. I'm like, no, Syria is free. I'm not studying. So
I think that's fair, right?
It is.
You get to have a study break when your country's free.
Exactly. Even our kids, when they saw all the exciting, we are so excited to actually for the idea we can go to visit, we can go see the family, their cousins. They couldn't believe it. Is that true? Can we go there? Because some of them, when we left Syria, they were so young, 2 years. And I have the youngest who even born outside Syria.
Yeah.
So we didn't know anything about it except from what we're telling, from our stories, and pictures. That's it.
Let's if you don't mind, tell folks just a bit about yourselves and your families and what you're doing here, and then we'll go from there. Because how big's your family again? Is it 5 kids?
5 kids.
5 kids and 2 twins, which are double trouble, right?
Yes. Yes.
So you got 5 kids, and what are you studying?
So before I came here, I was a math teacher teaching in American school in Kuwait. Mm-hmm. And when I came here, as my English was, they said it's good. Yeah. I'm not that good.
Your English is great.
So I started as translator.
Yeah.
And then after 4 years, I found out the kids growing up, I need to do something more affected in the community, and we feel like we need to pay back because they are so welcoming. And so cozy with us. Let's say
Right.
that. So I'm studying now diploma, digital health administration.
Right.
And of course, between the kids and the studies, so it's
A lot of work.
yes, it is. But it's worth it.
Yeah. Okay. Mona, what about you? I mean, you've been on. I've interviewed you before. I know all about your story, but not everyone listening knows about your story. So tell folks about, because you've got a restaurant, family restaurant that's open. But tell folks about yourself and your family.
Yeah, so we are here 6 years and a half in St. John's, and we fled Syria 2013. I did, personally, I did 2 degrees in English back home. So I started working with the UN before coming to Canada and, knowing more about the world. And then we met someone from St. John's, and he was like, you should come with the children to St. John's. And he sponsored us. Thanks so much. Thanks, Jeremy. So anyway, we came 6 years and a half. I started working with the ANC, and then I moved to the government.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit of study like Abir, but I could not do it because I'm a super mom like Abir and everyone, but I could not do it. It was too much to work and study at the same time. But then my husband and my family, we decided to open a small business, which is a restaurant, Syrian restaurant, and it's working really, really fine now. So who can be happier?
All right. Syrian restaurant.
Happy family, 4 kids.
Happy family, 4 kids.
And everyone is at school. I have a very nice job. We have a small restaurant. Who can be happier than that? Who can be better than that?
And the restaurant just near Mundy Pond, right?
Yes.
Empire Avenue.
Yeah, 479 Empire Avenue, very
okay.
close to the Mundy Pond.
Right. And lots of great Syrian food
Yes.
there. How's it? What about yourself?
Yeah, to tell you about
Yeah,
myself.
just tell me about, what do you, is it cybersecurity analyst, right?
Yeah.
Yes. What did you do? Because you were, what was it, 18 when you left? What were you studying in Syria before you left?
I was doing agriculture engineering till the Syrian regime was airstriking everywhere in the city where I was living. And, my family were living, actually, because I was living in the capital city of Damascus. And when Syrian people, the majority of Syrian people were protesting against Assad, Assad was trying to do some psychological effect on the people where, okay, where are you? They'll stop you on the road, like where are you from? Like in Syria, I would say from the south, and then they'll take you to prison. So people from the south will just flee the capital city of Syria and then go to the south, right? So he was trying to put all the people in one place so he can have more control over them. So anyway, I left and came to Canada. I did I have a major in computer science from one, and another one cybersecurity from Kona. I have three brothers. One went to Kona, and he did the civil engineering technology and the Bachelor of Technology at MUN, and 2 more they did the child and youth care from I think Academy Canada College or something. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So then when you're seeing reports out of Damascus now that it's banks are open, I think there's I was reading something about an ice cream shop had a sign about free Syria, and when you see these reports of life, I can't even say back to normal, of a new normal that has started. What's that feeling like to see that in the capital city and to see some of the reports from what we're hearing from freedom in Syria?
Well, actually, that was the true Syria. Looking back at the history of Syria, Syria gained its independence from France in the 1946, and then there was 8 presidents right after that, till the Assad's father was the president in the 1971, and then his son for 50 years. So those 50 years does not represent the Syrian history or the Syrian politics, right?
Totally.
The true politics or the true Syrian, I would say the true Syrian history was anywhere before the 1971.
Right.
So this era of Assad's regime, it represents nothing but non-true Syrian history.
Yeah. So do you feel then, if you've got that untrue, that the Assad time, right, and it being done, these next steps for the reclaiming, perhaps, to use a word, of the true Syrian history, what's that feeling like for you to see this happen right now?
Well, that's a very good question. Actually, I've never thought about it, but I would say the healing phase for anything or for anyone, it's kind of a combination of happiness and pain and memories. So now, what Syrian is, at least, well, we don't have the Syrian people in Syria don't need to hide from airstrikes and the Russian and Iranian and Lebanese Hezbollah regimes and military. So what they need now is support from the international world. They need funds to start the reconstruction,
Rebuild.
Yeah.
Right.
So and they need help to build their new government. So they would have more. I mean, well, the reason of all this is Syrian people in 2013 wanted more freedom. In 2011, actually, wanted more freedom, right?
Yeah.
And trust with the government. So anything that can help with this, that would be great for the Syrian people.
Right. Noir, what about yourself? Nursing, right?
Yes.
All right. Tell me about nursing and why nursing.
So I came here when I was in grade 5. I've always wanted to become a doctor.
Yeah.
And so when I came here, I kind of had the chance to pursue my dream. If I stayed in Syria, I wouldn't have had that chance.
Yeah.
And so when I came here, I said, okay, now I have the opportunity to kind of go towards that dream. So everything I've done up towards now kind of helped guide me toward that. And so I've done nursing. I'm in my second year now. I do a lot of volunteering and community work. And I hope to pursue medicine and apply actually next year. So
Busy.
yes, very busy.
How much news have you been following over the last couple of days?
I think we've all been following all the news.
Flat out, yeah. Yeah, like everything.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has slept in the 2 days since the news started, especially Saturday and Sunday. I don't think anyone has been eating. I have exams, and I actually finished my last exam yesterday.
So you managed to do an exam with everything going on and all the
Yes.
news checking. You still managed to finish an exam.
Well, I thought I can't fail. Me and Assad can't fail in the same year, so I have to pass.
Yeah, that's true. It's nice to have that separation there, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that was my last exam yesterday.
What
and,
exam was it?
Maternity.
Okay.
Yeah.
And went well, you think?
Yes.
Feeling confident.
Yes.
All right, that's good.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So then, for you now, looking at this, you mentioned it's a grade 5 coming over. What are your thoughts around what's next and what it can mean?
Well, I think that the fact that al-Assad fled is the first step for a new Syria. It's a crucial step, and it's not the end, it's just the beginning. I have a lot of hope for Syrians and the new government that's in place right now. They're already doing a lot of progress in terms of starting kind of like an MCP system like Canada here. And, there's police in the streets kind of regulating traffic. Government offices are opened again. And I just think that it's very hopeful, and hopefully, different groups are not going to derail that progress. But I think that if the Syrians were left to kind of decide their own future, that it's going to be a very beautiful Syria.
Yeah, good. And so far, from what we've been hearing from reports, like there's some promising words that are being spoken around the next steps and government and everything else, like you just said. So it's a wait and see, but fingers crossed type of a thing. When you look at the divide of folks having to leave Syria, right, and then you look at today and what's happening in the reclaiming of Syria and its history and making a path forward. What's the role for the diaspora, for folks who are living, whether it's here in St. John's, from the Syrian community, it could be Germany, Toronto, wherever else. Like, what role do you think the Syrians abroad can play for helping in the future?
So actually, in my opinion,
Yeah.
as you know, since the war started, let's say 14 years ago, and Syrian become all over the world, actually, we always have a say that Syria very famous with jasmine.
Yeah.
So with the jasmine now and over the world, you can smell the jasmine because all of the Syrians there. And now as our role as Syrian Canadian and American Canadian, Canadian, Syrian everywhere. It's our role now to urge our government to help us to rebuild Syria.
Yeah.
Because now we can't ignore it that we have strong roots here.
Yeah.
Like our kids, like my youngest, they are literally newfies.
Yeah.
Even their accent.
Yeah.
So, and when you ask them, they said we're Canadian.
Yeah.
And of course, as a part of that community, and they grow up here, they want to be still related between here and Syria. So, of course, we want to urge our government and our people to help building the new Syria. And one of the saying, it was all over the Facebook, it was saying, oh, when Syria come back again, everything was good. The translator, they didn't find any job because Syrian going to speak all the languages in the world. And honestly, it's have deep meaning more than it's a joke.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Well, it you know, it's one of the things, you know, you say it and I'm like, haha, but then it's like when you think about it, you're like, oh, there's an awful lot to that statement, right?
Yeah.
Of talent, of passion, of ability.
Yeah, and a lot of our people, like as you see here, they have been completing their education, doctors, engineering, all over, all kinds of education you imagine. So think just a second when all these people with different backgrounds, with that education and everything have been through, go back and help Syria. How much that will be beautiful, how strong this country will be.
Hamza, what about yourself? What do you like for the role for Syrians abroad, right? Someone like, you know, cybersecurity analyst yourself, right? You know, your brother's out working. What, like, with roots here, what do you think about having, whether it's influence or a bit of a say when it comes to the new future of the country?
Well, it's hard to tell actually.
Yeah.
Because like if we're talking about helping, they don't need any help really.
Yeah.
Like,
They got it.
Yeah, they got it. They
Yeah.
got it. They've been fighting for 13 years. They gained their freedom. I mean, their freedom from Russia, which everyone knows how bad Russia is, and from the Iranian regime and the Assad regime. That's in terms of military. So they're good.
Yeah.
They're good. I've heard there's some bad stuff is happening in the south.
Yeah.
Because Israel has just claimed a few kilometers in the south from the
Yes,
Syrian land.
and one of some of the news over in the last couple of days as well. You had there's some bombings of the remaining military, like the Syrian Navy, and some other strikes by the Israeli government, which has happened. So you and then yes, some extra land, and that's part of the story that's happening as well now.
Yeah, because well, you know, that's funny because he's been saying that he wants the Golan Heights back to Syria for the past like 30 years.
And you're talking about Netanyahu.
And now it turns out that the Syrian government, the Assad the regime, has like connections under the table with the Netanyahu government.
Yeah.
So that's funny, right?
Yeah.
That just tells you how bad that regime was, lying on his own people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in terms of military. I would say they're good. They got it. They got support from countries that I can't tell. And if we're talking about economics.
Yeah, like some of the rebuilding, because there's a question around perhaps some of the Gulf states and money. There's a look at what happens with the United States with the Donald Trump government coming in. But so then I think when you look at the rebuilding and the question of the role for the Syrians abroad, of whether it's helping for whether fundraising or helping with some aid for the rebuilding process, of saying, well, what's this government going to be? Who is it going to be for? What do we look at for education and things that have been destroyed over the years?
I don't know, actually, to be honest.
And it's complicated. And, you know, you're not going to come in and just be like, oh, I've got the answer, like, because it is really complicated.
Well, I mean, they can help with the fundraising for sure.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, anyone would do that. They did it before. They did it during the Assad regime era. Yeah, that's for sure. But I mean, like in a better way, it's hard to tell. I would say they can help teaching the people inside how democracy looks like. I've seen a few pictures in the capital city of Damascus where people were raising the picture of Ahmed al-Shar, who was like the leader of HTS.
The rebel leader whose name everyone's going to be, if you don't know it now, you're going to know it because it's for the future of the country. This is a name, at least for the foreseeable future, we're going to be hearing, right?
Yeah, I would say for the next 3 months.
Yeah,
he's not planning to be the president, so you would see him for the next 3 months. People were raising that picture, and people on social media were screaming like, "No way, we're not gonna do this again," because that's what people were doing for Assad.
Yes,
like, it was a mandatory thing. You have to raise his picture everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. So people were starting to do this for the new leader, and people on social media, especially people who are in Europe. North America too. They're saying like, no, don't do this. Yeah. That's how it always starts. You start with a picture and then it goes bigger.
Goes from there. So the thing is like, hey, easy steps, folks.
Exactly.
You know, step by step. Let's do this. Talk it through. Right, Mona? Any thoughts on?
Yeah, I just want to say that for those people who don't know, why did the uprising happen?
Yeah.
So when Assad jumped on the chair and he became the president of Syria 50 years ago, he made Syria a farm. Like it was Syria al-Assad. Like the adjective of the country, it was not the Republic of Syria, it was the Syria of Assad.
Yeah.
So it was like a farm, and the Assad family has to harvest all the goods of this farm. And the bars, like it was a farm and a prison at the same time. So the fence of the farm was really high that people could not see what's behind. And we were really, really behind with everything. People did not know much about the other world. Like we were in a big prison, Syria like a farm or a prison, and we were inside. And what proves that is that many, or like the major percentage of the Syrian people don't have passports. We could not travel.
Yeah.
It was something very unique that somebody can have a passport and travel somewhere and see what people do and how governments, act to their people and stuff. So at this stage of our prosperity, let's say now, or like freedom, we could go back with lots of experience. How do people live? So as Hamza said, we learned our lesson.
Yeah.
We won't do it again. And like, this is something from my childhood, and maybe Abir and many people. Like, we used to go to school every morning, raise our hands and say, our leader forever is Hafiz Assad.
Yeah.
We had to say that a couple of times every day, by the beginning of the day and by the end of the day. Can you imagine children saying that every day for years and years and years? And then they will make us repeat other stuff, like, whatever Hafiz Assad wanted, and then his son wanted. So it was kind of
Indoctrination
crazy.
for kids.
Oh my
right?
gosh,
It's all
yeah, it
indoctrination.
was.
You can't leave the country. You got it every morning. It's holding up pictures, right?
Yes,
It's all
yes.
of
Their
the
pictures were
indoctrinate around the Assad family.
everywhere,
Yeah.
on notebooks, on stickers, on walls, everywhere. You needed a permission to cough.
Yeah, and that for me, like that's similar to like it reminds me of images like over the years for North Korea, right? So you'd have one of the kids,
Oh my gosh, yes.
and now at this point it's two of them up on the wall for pictures of every single wall.
Yeah.
And this sounds very similar. And the passport, and also in the 80s with
Yeah.
Even the uniform in the school, it was
Yes.
like it's a copy.
We had
for
his
the
picture
elementary.
on the pocket. We
Yeah.
had his picture for a while. Like,
Yeah, we
his
have
picture was on the pocket.
imagine like 12 years old, and from 12 to 18, you have to go to school every day wearing costume similar to the military.
It's
And even
almost
follow
like
the same rules.
it's almost like there's a how-to book out there somewhere for dictators, right? Because a lot of the stuff when you look at country,
They're similar.
Yeah, is it right? It's
similar.
so similar, which
Yeah.
is unsettling and horrifying and wild. Folks, this is The Signal. I'm Adam Walsh. Today on the show, we're talking about what comes next for Syria and Syrians, whether it's Syrians within the country or abroad. If you have thoughts on today's show, the text line is open, 709-327-8206. So what do you think about the news of Assad fleeing and a new day for Syria? Text us, 709-327-8206. Emails thesignal@cbc.ca. I've got great guests here from the Syrian community. And, Hamza, earlier you mentioned about healing. And I was curious about this question for everyone else here too, and also if you have anything else to add to it. What is the healing process going to be like?
In my opinion, it will take a lot of time. It's hard at the same time, and it's to bring back all the bad memories, especially when you see what's happening, what they discover, where they cover from the prisons, and what's really happened, what the true story was. Most of the people were even scared to say it through the phone or say it through social media. So now when you hear all the stories, it's, I'm speaking about myself.
Yeah.
It's literally mentally painful.
Yeah.
If that's, how can you say it? But again, as we're saying, we have a lot of, let's say, hope, and we believe in our community, in our people, that the healing will be very fast processed. And you can see in the news, they start cleaning their city, the streets, like, I don't know, second day? Since Monday, everyone can walk in the street, help as much as they can, raising, putting the garbage, taking the rocket, everything, painting the different color of the new flag. So we have a big hope.
Yeah.
And we will see in the future.
Oh yeah, I saw a video of an older woman. It was I can't remember which news organization. It may have been Al Jazeera, but it was just she was like sweeping the streets, right, just
Yes,
cleaning everything up,
exactly.
and it was a very striking image
Yeah.
of.
For me, to be honest, I was like in shock how I know we were one of them, but still how strong they are to the point they will forget their pain. They over all that death that's happening, all the people they lost, and they just want to build that country. And as you said, the old lady with everything have been through. 100%. She lost a lot of relative, and she's strong enough to stand up and start cleaning the street.
It's I mean, that's the image, right? It's like, here we go, like let's sweep out the Assad regime
Exactly.
and start over. Healing.
That's the excitement.
Yeah.
That's human being, actually. Looking back at the history, there's 25 million people died during the Soviet Union era, right?
Yeah.
The man-made fame in Ukraine, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And the Nazi Germany as well. There's 6 million people died.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking about the time of Stalin, right? Joseph Stalin in with the Soviet Union and what happened there. Go back to the Nazis with Hitler and everything there. It also reminds me. Before the show was mentioned, I was in South Korea on vacation to see my in-laws, and so my father. I think I'm okay to tell the story. My father-in-law was born at the end of the Korean War, right? So 53, right around 53. South Korea, poorest country on earth at the time. Because I had a question around. For him, he always has to have rice for breakfast, and it has to be white rice, no grain. And this is a must thing because they could not afford rice when he was a child, because they were trying to, the economy, there was no, everyone was poor. And so this is the decades later, still now very happy person, happy family. And you look at South Korea, thriving country, but there are still these bits that are there, even though there's been so much amazing healing that has happened. So it's just, there's a lot to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think we are in the era now that we are converting from all for one, like the whole country was for one person, to one
for all.
Yeah, so like people are ignoring their sadness and their catastrophes and their they lost children, and so they're not ignoring but trying to forgive and trying to forget, so that the whole country heals. So people in Syria, like Syrians, are very smart and very strong, and we believe we will be okay.
Yeah.
Hand to hand, like hand by hand, as my friend said, stone by stone, heart by heart. I think we will rebuild our Syria.
So what was the Sunday, Bannerman Park for folks, right? There's a gathering.
Yes.
What was that like?
Oh my gosh, that was a great celebration.
It was amazing, actually.
Yeah,
It was so fast,
happy.
happening so fast. As a member of Syrian Association, we organized that, 6 hours. It was so much short notice, but we have amazing people here. So when we post that, we have our own group on WhatsApp and Facebook, like for Syrian community. When we posted, everyone was excited, like, yes, we're gonna have it. Everyone have from his own money, he bring sweets and coffee and start give it for everyone there. We have the flags, the music. Imagine there is a lot of people who lost their children or uncles, relative, family members. We were dancing, singing.
Yeah.
And we want to share that with our second home here.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people who was stopped by. I'm like, what's happening? Why are you guys singing and dancing? What's happening here? And we were explaining for them, of course. And one of the funniest, this young old lady, she was walking and she came and she said, she was asking a question, of course, what's happening? Why you guys having dessert for everyone and coffee and everything? And when we explained for her, first she was crying and then she starts dancing and clapping with us. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And we couldn't be more happier, to be honest.
Yeah, I was out. So Sunday, I was doing a little run around Kitivity Lake, and I think so. There's a caravan afterwards at cars, and I think so. A couple of guys, I think they went straight instead of turning left to go up over the hill, and I think it was 4 guys in the car, Syrian flag out, and it just the honking of the horn and just the jubilation that I will remember for a while, just because it was just I was kind of like, oh, what's going on? Oh, it's, because I knew what was going to happen at Bannerman. And then I was like, kind of, gave a little clap, and they're like, all so excited in the car. And you could just, it was palpable, right? The excitement and the feeling around it. Or what about for yourself? How was that either on Sunday or again, like just thinking about your generation and how everyone's feeling now? Like, are you talking to friends and people your age?
Yes. So to shed some light on kind of our generation, a lot of us left Syria when we were very young.
Yeah.
So we kind of didn't get to experience a lot of things in our home country, and we were kind of thrown out either in, the surrounding countries, Jordan, Turkey, Lebanon, or we came here. And, I think that for us, if I speak to myself personally, I don't feel like, I belong completely with the Syrians or I belong completely with the Canadians.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of in the middle, and I feel like a lot of young people kind of identify in that manner too. I heard this sentence, and it said that, the Syrians, the young Syrians that left, they're kind of the beach. They're not the ocean. They're not the land.
Yeah.
So, that's, you feel that you're, a bit, very Syrian for here, but you're very Canadian for over there.
There's a difference. Yeah.
There's a big difference, yeah.
I think that's a really, for the 0.5 to the first generations, I think that's for folks, can be a very
And
common feeling.
It's very nice to kind of have a home now to go back to, experience your roots again, visit your family, rebuild the memories that you had. And I feel like that would give us a greater chance to kind of make more connections with our homeland.
So what about yourself? Do you feel you're the beach, or are you because you were 18 when you came over? So do you feel in between now, or like where's your feeling of like, this is kind of deep, but like who you are, for how that goes?
Yeah, that's same for me actually.
Yeah.
I had this discussion 6 years ago.
Yeah.
With Mike. Mike, if you hear us, thank you. He told me no, actually 2 years ago. Yeah, he said you'll never go back to your country.
Yeah.
And later you'll know why. And he was right. Yeah.
What?
It's hard.
When did you notice that change? Right. Like, I mean, I know there are many reasons for not being able to go back and impossibilities, but when did you start noticing a change in yourself as you adjusted and put down roots here?
Well, when you start to build your life, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll have commitments, you'll have friends, new friends.
Yeah.
And it'll start to build a family. So it's not that I'm not Syrian. I'm still Syrian, but that now after 13 years, if I want to go back, I'll have to give up on everything I built here and all the people I know, and then go start from the beginning, from the ground.
Yeah.
So, but going back to Syria, it's not gonna be the Syria that I remember 13 years ago, right? It's gonna be something completely different. That's if I go. So a lot of people won't go. It's just, let's say if we all go together, we'd still be missing the people who died, who sacrificed their lives for our freedom. So I would say I'll stay away, watching from the other
far.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you feel the news? Does this give a little bit back to you? Right, the freedom of Syria, the Assad regime gone. Is this a little bit back to you and who you? Even though things have changed, do you get more now because of this? Right, because there's a place that you definitely could not go back to. But now, with hope, perhaps you can visit and see if you want to, or it's more of and just knowing that there's more freedom happening. Like, how is that feeling for you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's nothing you can take for guarantee. We never know what's gonna happen tomorrow, right? Maybe we're not sure if Syria is gonna be a better country than it was or a worse country than it was, right? So I think everyone has different circumstances, and it's all based on opportunities. If I get a better opportunity in Syria, of course I'll move. Like, not only Syria, like anywhere in the world, right? Like you'll see Canadian in Africa or US or Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what all people do.
International citizens, exactly.
Yeah.
There are exactly. You go into different, whether like from when I was living in Japan, expat circles, folks from all over, right? It's like, how'd you get here? I don't know. I got a job and just moved here, right? Which is
exactly,
what happens. Do you feel the call of, like, as things progress, do you think many folks will try to return, or will it be similar of like, because I totally understand the moving somewhere else and putting down roots and staying there for a while. What do you folks think for the Syrians abroad?
I believe, honestly, in my opinion, of course, from what we've seen from al-Assad regime throughout the past 45 years, we're not going to see anything worse than what's happened.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about that. This is the first, but again, to move back there to like our home, Syria, Let's see, we're going to take maybe baby steps,
Yeah.
see what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
For now, the major thing we talk about, like in my home and with my family back home and everywhere, this summer we're going to have a huge meeting for the family in Syria. Because like we have family, we're here, we have cousins in Germany, another cousin in Holland, in Kuwait, in Saudi Arabia. So to see each other, the only country we're going to hold us, it's home, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to see that, of course, in the future, depends what's going to happen, of course. But on the other side, I believe as a Syrian, as a very proud Syrian actually, and who have been through all that, let's see, horrible things, we are a survivor. We can start from scratch. Doesn't matter where you throw us, we're going to stand up on our feet and do what we have to do.
What does let's say stability, things are going in a nice direction, summertime comes, family gathering. What does that look like? Can you describe it for what you think that will look like?
What do you mean exactly?
Just paint me a picture of like a family gathering of food and what's happening, like when you get a family reunion.
For me, to be honest, to be under one roof with my siblings and my parents, it's a dream. Because when I left Syria and come here, settling with my family, I couldn't see them for 11 years. First time after I took the citizenship and have the passport, after a month, I was in my family home, who lived in Kuwait by chance, and I went there by surprise. When my dad opened the door, he couldn't believe that he saw me.
Wow.
He checked every 5 minutes, opened the door when we were sleeping. I can't believe my old kids under one roof. It was heartbroken at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's a very happy moment. So imagine to have the same feeling with all the family.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see my cousins, my uncles, I don't know, maybe 15 years, maybe more. Imagine that my kids didn't even meet their grandparents. Never. Only by the phone calls, and that's it.
And now possibly.
Exactly, to go there and meet them.
And we're talking, yours is one family, and then another,
yeah.
and another, and another, and another, and another. It's powerful. So then, as we follow this, right, you're working, you're studying, working. What are the next days for you folks? What are you going to be doing other than following the news really closely still? Like, is it still phone calls with friends and relatives? Like, what do the coming days and weeks look like?
I think going back to Syria is going to go on personal basis. Like, it's going to be different from family to another, or like from an individual to another. But everyone is going to be watching and trying to help. And now we can, like, at least, like, for a while, we could not call our family members who live under the regime control. Like, even if you call them, they can't say nothing. It's going to be like, "Hi, how are you? I'm fine."
Yeah, it's sunny. It's sunny today. Great. Oh, thank you. Bye. Because if you say anything, you're at risk. You were at risk. Right.
Yeah, they're scared. Like I have not seen my brother since 2011 because he got stuck there and he could not leave. And when I call him, I should be very, very careful when we talk. So feeling free to ask him all the questions that I had for 11 years, or like maybe more than 11 years, is such a privilege now that I have. Calling my brothers, calling my friends who stayed there is such, like, it's something very normal in others' lives, but in our life now it's a privilege. It's a grace that we can feel. But I think everyone is going to visit. Is going back to visit 100%. And let's say that there are some cases that people lost most of the families.
Yeah.
So I know like at least one or two ladies who won't go back because they don't have any family back there. In some areas of Syria, the whole family, the extended family was gone, the whole family. So where do they go back? Where? To see who?
Yeah.
The whole family is gone. But if you still have parents or like some relatives, everyone will go back and visit and spend some time, maybe summer vacation, let the children meet their grandparents and their uncles and aunts and know that this was where the parents were born, and we lived and we studied, or like we did work. they will be so happy to see that and learn about their parents' country home.
How big, before the show started, I've already asked you this question before the show started, but for all the listeners,
Yep.
how big is the Syrian community here?
So we thought between 400, 500 family.
Yep.
So an average of each family, 5, 6, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Five
so
families,
we're huge.
5, 6 size, 500, 600 families.
Yeah.
What do you, from folks first arriving to now, what do you think about the intertwining of the Syrian community here into the Newfoundland and Labrador culture? Like how, because for one of the things that stood out to me recently was the movie Skeet by Nick Sexton, right? Directed it. So it's a movie about a Newfoundland guy gets out of prison, meets a Syrian newcomer. The movie goes on from there. When they screened it at the Majestic, Arabic subtitles as well. I mean, to me, this shows it shows Syrians being a big part of intertwining with culture here, and also with opening restaurants and working in the community, becoming cybersecurity analysts, all that stuff, nurses. What are your thoughts just on the community's health and growth in and around St. John's?
Actually, so we arrived almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When we first arrived, meet a lot of friends, Newfoundlands, they thought like, there's a lot of difference between us, between culture,
Yeah.
religion, blah, 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 all those things. But after a while, and have one of the nicest and beautiful friends, my bestie is Jillian. Hi, Jillian, by the way. She was one of the major reason that I love to be here. So when she started, being more closer, every time she came, I always remember that, oh, we are so similar. We have the same culture. Like, if someone die, we go cook, have food for them. And for their wedding, go show up with the presents.
Yeah.
And how that way we deal with our men's. And she always make fun, like, as besties, we always complain about men's, that's for sure.
I mean, that's only fair. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what you do.
And
right? You
she
complain.
she have the famous say, everyone know me. I always say it. Like, she came to me, Abir, doesn't matter where the man who is from where, we always married the same man, different faces and different, citizenship. So it was so close to the point. In the beginning, you're scared from what you hear from the social media, and of course, what you hear from the social media about Islamophobia and everything.
Yep.
But when you come closer, and we come to each other for that as a human, you figure out that there's no difference.
No.
Literally, there's no difference. We all of us, like, same people, same humans, maybe some different culture, just a little bit, but not that much.
The food might be a little different, but if there's a celebration, it's a celebration. If it's sad, it's sad. If you want a sweet, there's sweetness in it. Like that's
Exactly.
It's human stuff.
And always we wonder as kids all the same thing. So I don't find a lot of difference.
Yeah.
Maybe because I don't know about other people, but for me, it's, as I grow up with multicultural community, so maybe it was easier on me. But now all my kids, their best friends are Canadian, or like we see, like from here, of course, they don't have much friends. They have sleepover, they go for play date and everything. So
All the stuff.
of course, it's not much difference.
No. Nora, what do you think?
About our life here and like
whether it's whether it's to the point of actually we're all obviously very similar and the same, but then there's elements of Syrian culture that are now St. John's and Newfoundland culture and vice versa. Like there's been growth for communities growing together as well.
For sure. Well, when we first got here, we were kind of surprised at how similar Newfoundlanders were to Syrians.
Yeah.
They're very kind, they're very generous, and they want to include you in their gatherings. And so I thought that, Newfoundlanders were very similar to, Syrians back home. And that kind of, gave us hope that, when we first came here, we came to a strange place.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we were going to meet, who we were going to see, how the people were going to deal or feel about it. But when we got here and we saw how the Newfoundlanders kind of really just accepted everyone and stuff like that was really promising. And now it kind of gives us hope for Syria again, because we didn't really have to lose a lot of parts from our identity when we came here.
Yeah.
We were just accepted, and we were able to grow and be a part of the community.
Yeah. Hamza, what do you think?
I'd say the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Nice, kind. Likes to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Same parts of cultures, right? Like, nice folks who like to have fun and are kind.
Yeah,
Well,
and to add,
you'll find good people and bad people everywhere.
Oh,
right?
yes. I mean,
But here, the majority of people are kind of nicer than other places.
Yeah. So the process when you arrived, you felt comfortable enough when you arrived? Like,
No.
No. How
I
hard
would
was
lie
it?
if I say yes.
Yeah. No.
honestly. Like
How hard was it?
moving to a new place is not easy.
Yeah.
Like how would say, like fleeing your country is not easy.
Yeah.
Up to the point where you'd have to start having a stable life, right?
Yeah.
And then having friends, connections, going to work or going to study. At that time, the healing process starts.
Right.
And you will realize that now you're starting your new life, and that was just a past or a memory that you're gonna forget in the future.
Yeah.
But like that time in between, that like when you watch a movie, it's a movie that's just 2 hours,
Yeah.
and it's gonna show you a story or tell you a story. It's gonna show you the bad ending or a bad start or a bad ending, right?
Yeah.
But like the writer or the people who's in charge of showing you the movie won't show you the things in between.
Yeah.
Like you'll have to do it yourself. You'll have to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Syrian people,
The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Right.
Month, week.
Exactly.
Month.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's just 2 hours, but you did not see the things in between. Like
Yeah.
Syrian people move to here. They like, I mean, Newfoundlanders are nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But
No.
The process itself is hard. Like
Hard.
even for you now, if you go to Syria,
Yeah.
you'll notice that the process is hard. But Syrian people are nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Syrian people, like as others said, they're survivors.
Yeah.
And they're nice. They're kind, as just like Newfoundlanders.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a journey for them. And now hopefully Syria is gonna be a place where everyone has a voice, regardless of their ethnicity or skin color.
Yeah.
And well, most importantly, the freedom that I wish that Syrian people someday can experience it in their own country.
Stabilize and move forward. Mona, what about you?
I just want to confirm what everyone said, that when somebody moves to a new place, it depends on the both sides.
Yeah.
How welcoming is the side there, and how adjusting the new one coming. So in our case, the Syrians and the Newfies were really nice, maybe the same average. So we were really welcomed. And I love to tell my story all the time, like when we first came and we were sponsored. So our sponsors had our house ready to go. And we arrived at night. So we were exhausted, of course. We went to bed and everyone was just, sleeping all night, not understanding where are we now or like whatever is happening there now. So anyway, when we woke up, my son saw from the window that everyone had dogs in the street, and this is my best story ever. And he went to his suitcase, like we had suitcases for everyone and names there. So he brought some papers and colors, and he made his piece of advertisement saying, "Woof, woof, woof, your dog wants me to walk him out." And he put that on the tree. And that was the morning we arrived in
Day one.
St. John's.
I want to walk dogs.
Yeah,
Fair.
the blessing that we had that everyone spoke English really fine when we came. So he put the paper outside, and I started just, exploring the house, going to see how many bedrooms are there, what's in the basement. Everything was fine there, thanks to our sponsors. And people started knocking on our door. And those people who knocked on our door on our first day, asking us, when did you come to this house? And we said, last night. And they were shocked. These are the same people I still have as friends till now. I still have them till now. They gave us a big party, welcoming party in like a couple of weeks, and we are still good friends.
We're out of time, folks. Thank you so much for coming in and for sharing about yourselves and hope for a serious future. So thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
Adam.
for having us.
All right, folks. That is it for today's show. Thoughts on the show, The Signal at cbc.ca. Tomorrow, totally different discussion, climate change and what's beneath our feet. We look at geoscience, everything from sourcing the green economy, storing excess carbon, monitoring water resources, improving urban planning, and ensuring integrity of power grids. Lots to talk about. That's tomorrow only on The Signal.